All right, I'm going to move on to the next fantasy spotlight, and this is an extremely interesting player, and it's someone who's taken me on a bit of a roller coaster, and all owners on a bit of a roller coaster this season, and it's Chris Boucher. Now, we were pretty adamant that he should be a sleeper. You and I both agreed in the preseason. We highlighted him on our Deep Sleeper podcast coming into the season. And he's done that. He has definitely exceeded expectations. He's been amazing as a late round pick. The frustration comes in the consistency with his minutes, obviously. So when the man gets minutes, he puts up stats. When he doesn't get minutes, it can be frustrating. And I've even seen some places like he's getting dropped and people are getting impatient. Before I go into any of his stats and sort of highlight this guy a bit more, don't drop Chris Boucher. If he has a bad game or if he has a stretch of games where he's not playing minutes, try as best you can to be patient, because as soon as you drop him, chances are he's going to put up another, like he had 30 points, 11 rebounds the other day and puts up 3 blocks and just dominates the percentages as well. So he is someone who you're just going to have to ride out the highs and lows. And there is scope for this man to be even better than he was. So before I get into a bit more of the stats, from a non-owner perspective, what is your impression on Boucher this season? What have you been thinking about him?
It's a good one to pick because he probably is a polar opposite to Sabonis in the fact that
Yeah.
he's a bit more sporadic. So in a
Yes.
week to week league, if he has a hot week, your team's going to do really well, and then he might have one week where he really does fall off, and he's really just kind of hurting you. So right now, I'm looking at his overall ranking with no punts taken in mind. He's 41st overall, so he's
Yeah.
right up there with Sabonis, which is really surprising. But
Very
he did have
surprising.
a pretty hot month. And it really, as you said, it depends on the minutes. We know that Nick Nurse is a great coach. I'm not too sure. It's just they really do lack forward and center depth at
Yeah.
Toronto. So I think it is just a night to night basis in terms of who Chris Boucher is matching up with. But when he's getting minutes, he's so good for fantasy.
It yeah. It drives me crazy a little bit sometimes though. Like I know we like Nick Nurse. I think I like Nick Nurse a little bit more for his game to game strategic adjustments in the playoffs. In the season, he does do things, and he obviously doesn't trust Boucher as much as we want him to. But like when your other options are, Aaron Baines, like what the fuck can Aaron Baines do that Chris Boucher can't? Like I don't know. Like I know he's a bigger body, but seriously, man, like this guy is just a better rebounder, a better shot blocker, a better shooter, a better scorer in general. He's more switchable, better lateral movements. Yes, he might be a bit more slight of frame, but in today's NBA, I don't value that compared to those other 6 positives that I talked about. So I'm hopeful that, and it seems like recently he's getting more minutes again. I'm hoping as the season progresses, or even if just like Aaron Baines gets an injury, he's 30, was he 36 years old? That is a highly likely scenario. And if that happens, there's literally no other center on this team. Yes, they play some small ball with Siakam at the 5, but this guy doesn't need many minutes to be relevant and to be an elite player. In fact, as an overall ranking, he's averaging 23 minutes a game right now. And yet, like you said, he's the 41st ranked player. Now, that's off the back of some excellent percentages, some low turnovers, and high block numbers. But I wanted to go deeper into his stats here, and in terms of his minute splits. So I've gone ahead and I've looked at the games so far this season. In games where he's played 25 minutes or more, which is 11 games, listen to his numbers: 20.2 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 2.5 blocks per game, and 2.1 threes per game. And he's shooting over 50%, so 55% field goal percentage and over 75% free throws, and averaging basically 1 turnover a game. So those are Christian Wood numbers. Those are, like Nikola Vucevic numbers, but with blocks. Like those, those are like, that's like approaching first round value, like literally nearly at top 12 value. And that's in 25 minutes plus, not even like 30 or 35, which some of those guys are doing. So imagine if he started playing that. So the ceiling there is enormous. The contrast is in the 12 games that he's played 25 minutes or fewer, he's averaging 9 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, still a block and a half, and still a 1.3 threes per game, And obviously, very low turnovers. The percentages are still great. So that's why his ranking is doing so well. But obviously, those points per game and rebounds per game are halved basically in those games, and it's been nearly basically a 50-50 split in terms of games where he's had more than 25 and games where he's been less than 25. So when you hear those numbers, Cal, what do you think? Do you think that this guy, what if he does get 25 minutes a game? And that doesn't feel like it's much to ask, like, do you
Yeah,
think
it's
that?
pretty interesting. It's hard. It's hard to say. It's weird. I just said a bit of a pun. If you take away, because in both those, even if he was playing 25 minutes or if he was playing less, his turnovers were really good. If I
Yes.
punt the turnover, he's actually dropped down to about 67. But that's a
Yeah.
season stat. If he's putting up the numbers that you were saying that, the 2010, you know, really efficient from the field was at 54% while getting
Yeah.
2 threes, two and a half blocks. That's insane. Like,
Yeah. It's so unique as well.
it is. It's really the only thing he's not really contributing in is I guess the assists. But
Assists and steals. But yeah, like when you're putting out those numbers, like literally Christian Wood, those are Christian Wood numbers. Like that's exactly what he's doing, except Boucher is shooting a better free throw percentage. Like those numbers are nearly identical if he's getting 25 minutes a night, and Christian Wood's getting 35 minutes a night. So I know he's injured right now, but before he was injured, like everyone was raving on about how good he was, but Boucher could do that in fewer minutes. So I would encourage anyone who's stressed and nervous about him, ride it out. The trade deadline is going to come along. Maybe, who knows what's happening with Baines. But if this guy just gets just a few more minutes per game and it's more consistent, then, this could be your championship right here. This could win you the Premier, like the league, just based on that, because you would have picked him outside the top 140. So he's giving you 100 spots of value just based on 23 minutes a game, what he's doing. So ride the waves would be my advice.